So welcome back to another video for the first of my horror movie reviews, something that I've been meaning to do for a long time, and I thought now was as good a chance to start as any. Lucky you. And this week I'm going to be looking at not one, but two new releases. Lucky you. In this video I'm going to be looking at Fear Street Part 1 and Vicious Fun. Two different movies, not the same. So starting out with Fear Street Part 1, 1994. This, as the title suggests, is part 1 of a trilogy. This is available on Netflix at the moment in the UK. Part 2 will be out next week, which will be based in 1978. Then we'll have Part 3 the week after, based in 1666, I believe it is. These films are based on the R.L.Stine novels of the same name. R.L.Stine is probably most famously known for Goosebumps. I think he's known as the Stephen King of children's horror. Now, what they've tried to do with this film, they've tried to take as I said, ultimately a children's tale, which I haven't read, by the way, so what I'm going on is actually what I've seen in the actual film. But they've done it with an 18 rating, so not sure they pulled it off necessarily. I'll get into that now. I'm going to stay away from spoilers in this. I am going to be looking at all three parts, I think, over the next couple of weeks. Maybe at the end of it, when all of it's over, maybe I'll do a retrospective and maybe there'll be spoilers in there for those of you who are interested in that sort of thing. But for now, I'll just go through my thoughts on what this is. So like the title suggests, we start out in 1994 and we find that there's been a series of slayings in the town of Shadyside, Ohio. Apt name. Shadyside or Ohio? Yeah. A group of teenagers discover that these slayings may well be connected and that they are next on the list. Now, I'm going to be honest, I did find this first part a little bit difficult to get through for a number of reasons. It's an hour and 45 minutes or thereabouts, something like that, which was, that's not why I found it difficult. I do have an attention span. As I said, they've tried to take a kids' horror story and make it into an 18 rated horror flick, but they kind of, I don't know, I kind of felt they fell foul from the mark. Is that even a saying? Now, first of all, the most obvious reference point for this movie is Wes Craven's classic Scream. We have the unlikable teenagers, we have the masked killer with the knife chasing everybody around, although instead of I can't remember the name of the mask in Scream, but in this one we've got someone with a skeleton mask on. We discover quite early on that there was a woman known as Sarah Fear who was executed for witchcraft back in 1666, and ever since then there's been some pretty bad stuff going on in the town from time to time. Two of the main things that I really struggled with were the characters and the jump scares. I didn't really enjoy any of the characters in this. I didn't really care about any of them, which is quite often the case in a lot of slasher style movies. Slashers aren't my favourite horror films either, by the way, and this is building up to something other than that, but that's kind of how this one starts out as. Quite often in these cases, when you do have those slasher films, you have the disposable teens, but they're normally based on a memorable villain. Now in this you get neither. You get pretty disposable teens, but you don't really have a villain that you're rooting for necessarily either, if that's the right word. The other big problem I had with it was the obvious and predictable jump scares in it. I saw every single one of them coming. There's nothing scary about this film at all. It was pretty tame in many ways. I mean, as I said, it was based on a kid's book and they've tried to make it more adult, but at the same time it kind of seems almost like they're trying not to offend anybody either. There's very woke messages going through, which is fine, but it's kind of very similar to a lot of other horrors that we've had lately. A lot of the twists and turns I saw coming a mile away, which was a real problem for me. I say there were no likeable characters. The little brother I found quite endearing. He was a good guy in it, and also there was I mean, the fact that I can't remember anybody's names. I literally just finished watching it about 20 minutes ago, and I can't really recall anybody's names in it. I was that uninterested in a lot of them. I think you see where I'm going with this. I'm not going to give this a good score. There were positives to this though. It was beautifully shot. I really liked the look of the film. The soundtrack was absolutely fantastic, all from the era. I mean, anybody watching this channel a long time, you're all metal fans just like I am. We've got Iron Maiden, White Zombie, Soundgarden, Prodigy, Snoop Dogg, Cypress Hill. One thing I will say, the White Zombie song that they used was More Human Than Human, which was released in 1995. Also Nine Inch Nails, Radiohead, Garbage. There was a lot of good music on this, it really was. One thing I will say, some of the killings in this were pretty good. There was one particularly memorable kill towards the end of it, involving a... Well, pretty much giving it away, you know what it is, don't you? So there were positives to it, but yeah, overall I did find this quite difficult to get through. However, having said that, it does do a nice job of setting up the next installments. Part 2, which is coming out next week, as I said, is going to be based in 1978. There's a trailer for it at the end of this, and it's clearly going to be an homage to Friday the 13th, Sleepaway Camp, those type of movies. And 1666, the third one, looks like it could potentially be a very good one. We get, I think there was talk of an evil pastor who gouged people's eyes out, and it looks pretty dark. It does look like 1666 could be the big one. So I am kind of intrigued to see where it goes. So I will be watching them regardless. I mean, in terms of a score for this particular one, I'd probably give it a 4 out of 10. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it redeems itself. I hope that it goes somewhere else. I hope that it gets better. I hope that it gets stronger. Hopefully my reviews will get better, because this sucks. I think I was just disappointed by the lack of originality in it, considering how much effort's been put into it. It's just really not bringing much new to the table. It really isn't. I really do hope they redeem themselves in part 2 and 3, because I think there's a lot of potential for this. Not overly impressed with part 1, but I will be watching part 2 and 3, and I'll give you my thoughts on those. And the other film that I wanted to talk to you about is called Vicious Fun, and this is available on Shudder at the moment, in the UK at least. This is a horror comedy that's set in the 1980s and was written and directed by Cody Callahan. Again, I'm going to stay away from spoilers on this for now. We meet Joel, who's a film critic for a horror magazine. He's pretty much a typical loser character, and he has a crush on his roommate Sarah, but he has entered the friend zone. Joel finds himself snooping on a guy called Bob, who is dating his roommate, and without giving too much away, basically ends up in an AA-style meeting for serial killers. That age-old tale. What follows is a simple but fun comedy horror that has some decent laughs, some decent kills, and some pretty good gore peppered throughout. Like Fear Street, some of the characters start out kind of annoying, but they did grow on me as the movie went on, and unlike Fear Street, I did actually really warm to them, and there were some pretty memorable characters in this. This is a fun movie. I enjoyed this one. Ari Millen, who plays Bob, really grated on me at first, but he does put in such a memorable performance. I really did enjoy where he went with the character. Again, I don't want to give too much away, because I do recommend that you see this one. It really is quite fun. And the same could be said for Joel, who's our protagonist, our main character. I found him really grating at the beginning, but I stuck with it, and yeah, he grows on you as well. Not as memorable as some of the other characters, but did a decent enough job. We get a performance from David Kocher, who a lot of you will remember as Champ in the Anchorman movies. He plays like the group leader in the AA style circle of serial killers, Anonymous, whatever it may be. And he's always good fun. He kind of eats up the scenery whenever he's on screen. We have the excellent Julian Richings, who plays Fritz, essentially a psycho clown. Great performance, mesmerising, really eats up the scenery. And there's another guy called Roger Mallet, I think it is. Robert Mallet, who plays Mike, who's just this ridiculous, he's like a 6'10" Jason Voorhees type character who really gives some great laughs. He's a formidable screen presence. I do recognise him from other films as well. I can't think what they are at the moment. I think he might have been in Pacific Rim. He's kind of one of these characters, these actors who kind of has these little bit parts here and there. But he was a lot of fun. A lot of the laughs came from his interactions with people. He was great. We have a character called Hideo, played by Sean Beck, who is a cannibal character. It was a shame. So I enjoyed the actor, and I didn't really feel they gave him enough to do in it. He was kind of a bland character, which I guess kind of goes along well with the cold persona of the character. But yeah, I kind of felt they could have done more with this character. It was a bit shame. The only character I really had an issue with actually was Carrie, who's basically our heroine. She's kind of the heroine of the piece. I don't know, I just kind of found her a little bit unlikable They did attempt to give her a bit of a character arc, but I found myself just, I don't know, not really caring about her that much, to be honest with you. I don't want to say what her character arc is, because I think you should watch this film yourself. It is a lot of fun. In terms of a rating for it, I'd give this a 6 out of 10. Now, this isn't essential viewing by any stretch of the imagination, but it was fun. I did enjoy it. As I said, it started out a little bit, the first 10-15 minutes, I was a bit unsure where it was going to go. But yeah, I enjoyed this one a lot. There were a lot of laughs. There were some really memorable kills and some great characters. There was a really good solid cast now, I think, more and more about it. A lot of the acting was completely overdone, completely over the top, but it really worked. It was just a lot of fun. There was a great 80s synth style soundtrack as well, which really worked. I'm a sucker for that sort of stuff. The 80s is back so big at the moment, it's crazy. Although, having said that, Fear Street was 90s. A fun movie that's not supposed to be taken seriously, looks great, completely overdone, over dramatic performances, but it works so well within the context of this film. Yeah, 6 out of 10, not essential, but I think you'll have fun watching it. So that's my first horror review in the bag. I'm going to carry on doing some more of these. I think I will be doing some more classic stuff. I just wanted to start this week off with something that was relevant, something that was going on right now. I will kind of do a few more of those, as you know, throughout the year, but I do like the idea of going back and seeing some of the classics and talking about those, because that's where my real passion lies. But having said that, we do have some pretty good stuff that's still to come out this year, so I'll be looking at that. However, I will still be doing some music stuff, and in fact my next video is more than likely going to be my Metallica album ranking. I don't know why I paused between that. A lot of you watched the Fear Factory one that I did a while back, and it got a decent response. You seem to like it. I've been meaning to do an album ranking for Metallica for a very long time. Love them or hate them, they're one of the biggest bands on the planet, and especially in metal. And they've had they've been very important to me throughout my life. So yeah, chances are the next video I'll be doing will be for the Metallica tier ranking. And after that, I'll probably be back with Fear Street Part 2, so see where I am with that. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this one. I am going to be back with more horror reviews, and they'll be, yeah, I'm fleshing it out, so to speak. And I didn't know where to start, so I thought that this was as good a place as any. So thank you very much, and I will see you next time.